this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from the beautiful metaverse, and more specifically from beautiful Danville, Illinois, homeland of the Correllian tradition, and this is Midday with Reverend Don. Welcome. And as you know, if you follow Midday with Reverend Don, you can type your questions or comments onto whatever platform you're watching on, and they'll appear here in our chat room. And already I want to say hello to Proxones in the chat room. Hello, Proxones. It's good to see you again. And today, my guest is the Most Reverend Alyssa Maxon Kemp, newly installed First Priestess of the Correllian tradition. Hello, Alyssa. How are you today?
Hi, I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for having me.
I'm happy to have you here. So you've been First Priestess for a while, but the actual investiture was quite recent.
Correct. Yes.
Now, we want to say hello to Antonio in the chat room, who was there for the investiture. Good to see you, Antonio. Antonio created the wonderful dispachos that were offered to the ancestors and to the Vermilion River, and totally screwed up all the electronics with their powerful energy. So let's start by talking a little bit about that weekend.
Sure.
It was, and hello to Arlene in the chat room. For me, it was certainly a beautiful and not unemotional weekend. How did you find it?
Yeah, definitely a beautiful weekend. Definitely a nostalgic weekend for me in a lot of ways. I thought, so whenever I think about this, I have to remind myself that this is the first in-person global illustration that we have had in 5 years, since the previous Danville illustration, due to COVID, really.
That's true.
It was really nostalgic and wonderful to have that energy again. There's a family, a wonderful energy about in-person illustrations that you just can't be replicated.
That's true.
Yeah.
We're now being joined by your alternate number, the First Priest, the Most Reverend Phoenix Coffin Williams. Hello.
Hey.
And we want to say hello to Mary Cavalcante in the chat room, and to Renee. How are you today, Phoenix?
I'm doing pretty well. Thank you so much for asking. How you doing?
I'm good. We were just talking about the investiture and illustration weekend, and how was it for you?
I had a great time. I really enjoyed getting to see people that I had not gotten to see in a very long time. For sure, the Ebony was great to see her lay eyes on, lay arms on, get some hugs in. It was really great to be able to see and hug Jason in real life again. Because like the global illustrations were like really the only place where I for sure got to see and hug these people on a regular basis. And since we're using post-COVID now that apparently that's where we are, like it was great to just like get back at it.
Yes, indeed. One of the things that struck me during the investiture ceremony itself, and people who watch Correllian TV will have seen the video of the ceremony, but the oracle that came through for the two of you was not at all what I was expecting. It was a very, in some ways, lighthearted oracle in certain aspects. So I was wondering what that meant to you.
Actually, sir, if I may, a few things stuck out to me. One, watching you deliver the oracle, I was through you, but I was also watching you deliberately not warp the message, and that gave me that was, like very touching for me. To be like, you know what? No, it's real all the way through, and like you have to get out of their way, and you have to do it on purpose at all times. So that was really refreshing and encouraging to me. Then, as far as like what they said and how they said it's refreshing to be like, nope, they're watching and they're here and they're with us. So like those personal things that Lady Alyssa and I were celebrating silence by ourselves. We had no way of communicating each other. So I played a song for her that reminded relationship and experiencing together. We did the same thing, and then we just threw ourselves in the hotel room while we were waiting to get, retrieved, all in silence. So the fact that they were there with us and dancing with us, and were like, hey, we're gonna be with you. Just know this is coming. Was very reassuring.
It was.
Thank you.
And that was a special moment for us, I think.
I thought it was a very unique moment, and it's true. It was not a message that. I mean, it's not unusual. They don't necessarily make sense to me, but when they went back to it a second time, I think it was kind of obvious that I was a little taken back by it. But
you can
like
see it in the video.
Yeah,
you can see your.
It was kind of like, really, guys?
You had a pause in the video before you said it, like.
Yeah, in my mind, I was saying, really, guys, we're going back to this? But obviously it was important, and now I know why. But when I was bringing it through, I had no clue it had a personal meaning for you, although it should have been obvious. But, when you're bringing it through, you're in an altered state. And I don't know, I guess I was expecting to be very, very serious or something. And that just isn't how they are.
As being said, we spent that morning playing each other music and dancing, and we couldn't talk, so that was how we chose to spend the morning with each other. And one of our inside jokes, so for months, I always tell Phoenix, he's the wind beneath my wings. You're the wind beneath my wings. That's what I was telling him for months. So I played Wind Beneath My Wings, and he's like, what is this? I saw it in his face. Like, what are you doing? But yeah, we're cute.
Yeah.
So what would you say was the effect of the investiture itself on you? Or was there one?
It's very
interesting. Working with the egregore and so forth.
Yes, definitely. So the Correllian egregore is something that we've been working with leading up to investiture. I think first of all, it was very warm, the experience of the energy. It was very hot in general where we were, in the location that we were, but the drawing down of the energy was startlingly hot. And directly after, I had multiple people during hugs and things telling me that my body temperature was excessively hot, which I found interesting. As far as energetically, I feel like it had a change and also not a change. And I do feel like I've had the experience similar to an initiation where you do experience some upheaval as the energy sort of cycles through your life and clears out maybe blockages that have built up in the meantime and things like that, and spurs on some rounds of soul retrieval. And I have experienced that a little bit. I think that's common with any initiation, and it's interesting to see it magnified on the level that it is.
And we want to say hello to Lady Kai in the chat room and Lady Lori in the chat room. And Lady Lori says, good afternoon, family. Good afternoon, Lori. Good afternoon, dear niece. And Lady Kai says it was a very moving ceremony, and I'm glad I was able to take part. It was a wonderful weekend. It was just a delight all the way around. Having said that, we're now moving forward. And what are you finding, not just since the ceremony, but since coming into office? What are you finding, I guess, the most important things for your attention?
Love. I'm going with love. Phoenix.
For me, it's definitely like the applications of what we believe, what the oath is, and making sure that like each moment is very sufficiently filled with attention to that. So I find myself being a lot more gentle in my temperament, trying to learn a little bit more about every aspect of what I'm dealing with. Maybe slowing down a little bit, whereas like before, like I used to like be inspired and want to go. Like now we're just like, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's look at this from a lot of different angles and aspects. Let's make our decisions, as full we possibly can. Down here in this place, in this office.
I think that's a very good answer, and we want to say hello to Jessica in the chat room. And Arlene says, at least the cicadas weren't around. And they're still not around here. I think our anti-cicada protection magic may have been extremely effective, because my friends in Chicago are talking all about them, and I haven't seen cicada one, but
That's great.
It's interesting. So, looking at the future, what are your goals? What are your plans? And what's going on now that might be new?
Sure. So in the near future, we are planning on introducing something that we're going to be calling the Correllian Town Hall. And that is going to be a presentation that's going to be put on by Phoenix and myself and some of the other leadership about the past year, the status of the tradition, some information on projects that we have going on, projects that are upcoming, next year's illustration. And we're going to try to make this a yearly or semi-yearly event, and a way for people to ask questions, connect with us, and sort of learn about what's been going on. So we're excited about that.
Wonderful.
Something we're preparing. What else is going on? Forthcoming, we will be having a book being released. Our Correllian Heraldry and Regalia book is in final edits. So I'm writing that. I've been rewriting that for quite a bit now, and it's almost done. So I'm excited to see that be disseminated.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
We want to say hello to Jen in the chat room. And Jen asked why no one has responded to her emails about trying to get her access back to the website, I assume Witch School, and that she is a long-time, lifetime member. So, I would assume that possibly the appropriate email may have changed over time. What is the right email for that? support@witchschool.com?
Yes, sir.
And Lady Lori is in the chat room. And so hopefully she can look Jen up and take care of that. If you have a lifetime, it is still good. And we will get you taken care of.
We will get you taken care of. Just email us at support@witchschool.com. Speaking of that, that's another forthcoming project that we have, is we are doing a website rebuild on our seminary, witchschool.com. We're super excited that is coming along really nicely. And we're hoping to get some previews out to people at the town hall for that.
Wonderful. I'm looking forward to seeing that too.
Yes, we're very excited about it. It's we're modernizing. It's going to be a much more dynamic experience. We're very excited to show it to people.
And for Jen, if you want to write me at donlewishp@aol.com, I'll make sure you get hooked up. We'll get everything taken care of. And if you do, for whatever reason, have trouble reaching anyone, you can always reach me, and I'll plug you in. And we want to say hello to Libra Goddess in the chat room, and to Janet in the chat room. And Antonio says, awesome stuff in the works. What are you finding the hardest thing since taking up these offices? What has been the hardest thing to adjust to and or to accomplish? A simple, easy little question there.
Unfortunately for me, this is a repeating motif, but it's not easy to be selected for leadership amongst peers.
Mhm.
And so nurturing those formerly peer relationships while also stepping into a different aspect of power dynamic is like the thing that I am continually working through. And it hasn't just been here, like in other places I have gotten promotions and elevations at work, and you know, the dynamic changes carefully and very intentionally. So far that's been the hardest thing for me.
Yes, indeed. Lady Kai says, Alyssa and Phoenix in the hot seat. I love it.
Of course you do.
Well, you know, I think Phoenix comments on something very, very relevant, and that is that whenever you have a change in administration in an established organization, certain things are always going to happen. And it can sometimes be a chaotic period, and that's actually normal. It always happens. Sometimes louder than others, sometimes faster than others, but always seems to happen because a change in personnel is a change. Um, and if you look at any organization that has gone through a number of administrations over time, there's always an adjustment period. Um, I know there are some that try to change their administration every year. I don't know how they manage to do anything, because how do they ever get through the adjustment period? But that's my point of view. But I think if we look at organizations similar to ourselves, there's a little time for people to adjust, and everything is fine. It's never just one person getting up and another person sitting down. There's always more going on than that. So what else would you like to say to people?
That's an easy one. What else would we like to say to people?
And we want to say hello to Crystal Gypsy Raven in the chat room. Good to see you, Crystal.
I'll say that I am very much proud of and impressed by the folks who put on our first global lustration, like in person, in 5 years. Was it 5 years? I
More,
think our
yeah, it
last,
was.
It was
yes,
5 years.
last in person one was at Danville. So for the folks who like took that on, you know, and building up that family energy and making it so that there would be a wonderful repository for us to go and do our work and move back into this way of functioning. Like, I'm very impressed with y'all. I'm very grateful for y'all. So Cam, Jason, Brenda, who else worked on that? You, sir, Zach for being guard, Chad, Eric, the press people, Lori, like y'all, like superb, like A1. I'm so here for it, and I can't wait to like keep doing it with y'all.
Brenda.
Wonderful.
All the members of Pure Sanctuary Temple really stepped up.
Who did?
We thank Jason for hosting. It was a great event. Everything went super smooth. Weren't necessarily on time all weekend, but that's okay. We were on family time.
Well, you know, that was one of the comments that was made during the weekend. The comment was made, you know, things are behind schedule, and the reply was, in other words, they're working just like they always did. There's been a change, but no change.
Certainly.
And I really like to see things start on time, but they almost never do. And hello to Ed the Pagan in the chat room. It's good to see you, Ed. And Mary says, I had a fabulous time. And if you were watching Correllian TV, we live streamed all of the ritual events from the weekend. And yeah, I thought of all of them, the investiture itself turned out visually stunning. I think the location, of course, you know, I'm an artist, so of course I'm going to look at that, but the sky and the trees and the river could not have been more beautiful. And to see the two of you formally installed in that location was wonderful. It was great.
It was quite beautiful. You know how important we felt it was for us to be able to touch the river,
Yes.
Sacred Vermilion. We went the day before investiture actually to sort of scout the location. We had a couple different spots in mind that we could have done the ceremony, and when we got to that particular location, there was a blue heron standing in the river, and the blue heron is one of my personal totems. It has a specific meaning for me when it shows up at important times or auspicious times. And it's a sort of a take note for me.
Mm-hmm.
So we saw that, and I was like,
I think there were a number of omens during the course of the weekend. I believe there was something with hawks also.
yes. That was an experience Phoenix and I shared the morning of our investiture. We were outside in our silence. So we were sitting quietly next to each other. And I pointed out in the sky, there were two hawks that were doing a dance together. And they were flying, they were diving, they were circling. It was really beautiful. We were holding hands and we were like, oh, look, it's the hawks, it's us. Like,
Yes.
Of course, this is like a silent exchange. And Phoenix and I are very energetically connected. So, but the hawks flew away. And a moment later, I would say maybe 10 of them flew across the sky from the other direction all at once. It's quite amazing. I looked it up. It's called Cast of Hawks, is a group of hawks. So just a cast of hawks just flooded across the sky. And for me, so I am a fan of bird auguries and omens. That's something I do a lot of. And the hawk is the other bird that shows up in my life at specific and auspicious times with a specific message. And for me, the message of the hawk is that I am on the right path. If a hawk crosses my path, if a hawk flies in front of my car when I'm thinking of a certain thing, which is what usually happens, if I see one sitting and I have something on my mind, I know that is the right path for me. So that moment sitting there with the hawks and then the cast of hawks, I felt especially auspicious. So, as I wrote in my article, the path is true.
I read both of your articles. I thought they were very nice. Lady Kai says her favorite photo from the weekend is the two of you performing the Great Rite during the investiture in the river, which she does not mention, but it was physically in the river. I have to agree, it's one of the best photos. It was very, very well taken. And I know that, as you were saying, it had been very important to you to the point of insisting that it had to be where you could access the river because the ancestors had told you you must. And I think it was both a very striking moment and obviously was necessary or it would not have been insisted on. We want to say hello to Steve in the chat room. It's good to see you, Steve. So we have a few minutes left. What would you like to tell people or ask of people or share with people that we've not already talked about?
I would like to encourage people to speak up and share their stories about their success with their studies and their ministries and in their spiritual relationships. It's always a joy to be able to interact with people on that level. And then also maybe put your heart out there. Stuff that you want to see in your own community, a resource or some help that we could offer. So let us know what you're doing.
Definitely, all of that. I would like to draw attention back to the oracle that Phoenix and I gave at the end of illustration, during illustration. I'm sorry, because I've seen it start a little bit, and I want to draw more attention to it. That part of that oracle was that the serpent of prophecy was going to be upon all of the members of the tradition, and we've had many members of the tradition giving oracles and prophecies both to each other and within our groups in the days since. And I really want to draw attention to the connection that we all have with the ancestors and indeed with each other. And I want to encourage people to explore that connection and be open to it, um, and be open to the family energy.
Wonderful. And you know, they've been saying, and we want to say hello to Charles in the chat room. But you know, the oracles of recent years have been saying the time has come to use the things we've been trained for, and the oracle that you brought through basically said, yeah, watch for it, it's here. I think we're heading into an interesting time, and it's the time we've been called together to deal with. It's so in keeping with that, one of the things that was actually talked about in the ceremony is the nature of our Correllian state robes, and they get heavier with each rank that you achieve. And you have the heaviest state robes, and they also have the target right on the front, and you arguably now have the biggest targets. How does it feel to be in that position? How are you handling
Save the best for last, huh?
it?
It's an adjustment. It's an adjustment for sure. It requires an adjustment in the way that you think about yourself, but also the way you think about your interactions with others, that need to be even more conscious of. Um, we walk around as representatives of this tradition at all times and in all ways, and it's definitely an adjustment. Um,
Yeah, for me, it's like I've always been kind of like a target. I've always spoken up. I've always participated in activism, and things that were like protested. So it feels right on brand. It's just like a reminder to, just be aware of me, be aware of how I treat that jazz. And still, at the end of the day, is what life is. What it is. It's just life. There'll be another one.
This is true. So if people want to learn more about the Correllian tradition, or about witch school, or about all the things you're doing, where would you send them?
I would send them first to our websites, www.correllian.com, RRL, and www.witchschool.com for our seminary. Both great resources. Also, seek us out on Facebook. We have many Facebook groups. Our membership group is called Under the Hill, as an echo of the Correllian estate. All Correllians are always meeting under the hill.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. And we have come to the end of our half hour, but I want to thank you both for being here, and I want to thank everyone for joining us. It's been a lovely conversation, and I hope I can get you back sometime.
Hopefully, yeah. Sounds great.
So with that, I'll ask you to stick around for just a couple of minutes more while we do our prayer. And tomorrow, my guest will be Chris Copeland. We'll be talking about Correllian publishing. Divine Mother Goddess, Divine Father God, beloved ancestors, we thank you for all that you do for us in our lives, and we ask you to continue to guide us as we go forward. We ask you to help us to know the path that lies before us, and to help to guide us along that path when we are in need of guidance, and to help us to have the strength to tread that path when we are in need of strength. Beloved Mother Goddess, beloved Father God, beloved ancestors, we thank you with great love. And knowing you are always with us from respect, we thank you for your presence, and may you be blessed now and always. May you be blessed now and always, and I'll be back tomorrow. And thank you, Alyssa. Thank you, Phoenix.
Thank you. Blessed be.